Alrighty, well, good evening, everybody, and I'm actually here with my wonderful host. And yeah, my wonderful host is just on the other end, and I'd like to just send something out to her.
Happy birthday, Eva. Happy birthday, Eva. Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, both of you.
No problem, no problem. And that's probably also from all of our listeners, since we're starting to get more well known, actually. And yeah, tonight's topic, though, is going to be really, really good. We're going to be talking about actually the spiritual world again. We're going to be talking about the 10 top things to know before you do any investigations. And we'll be right back.
Join Divine Oracle Readings. Your host, Gypsy Lady Eva and Brother Chris, discuss spiritual topics and current events.
You could have listened to the radio. You could have spun some vinyl. You could have played a cassette tape. But you listened to
It's Divine Oracle Readings on Unique Spotify.
Alrighty, well, thanks a lot. And yeah, like I was saying just before we did our intro, there is actually 10 different rules to actually sort of follow, get to know about the paranormal investigations. And yeah, so Eva, how long have you been doing investigations?
I probably did them over a period of 15 years, but I've been involved in that sort of stuff for much, much longer. I was part of a team, and our team was called the Y Files because, of course, it was the X Files at that time, and the next letter in the alphabet is Y, but you can also take it as, why does this happen? And we were quite a team. We had a psychologist, an electrical engineer, a biologist, a priest, and a psychic. We were quite a team.
Okay, all right. And what areas did you cover by any chance?
Mostly in the Detroit area, but our group did go to a couple of crop circles that were in Michigan. One was in Michigan, one was in Ohio. We went to the White Buffalo. So we did a lot of things besides just going into houses and haunted areas. And I hate using that word, but where there was lots of spirit activity. So we did a lot of other things, and we had a great time. We had a lot of fun. Oh, and we did cemeteries.
Ah,
Ah,
well,
yes.
well, cemeteries though are actually what people start off with. For those that are just wondering about me, I've been actually active ever since the age of 6, so that's over 40 years. I found out though I was actually a trance channeler and also a energy white light warrior, plus also a bunch of stuff. So our team formed actually in 2010. Nowadays is Haunting Live podcast. So we've done locations throughout Ontario. We've done over 150 locations, and some of them though, like Eva was saying though, right when we first all started were cemeteries. We did local cemeteries within our area, and yeah. There's a lot of guidelines though for people that actually want to get active within the spiritual world, like the paranormal investigations and all that. You really don't need to have that much equipment to start off with. Um,
No.
so
When my group first started, we didn't have hardly anything, just this little handheld something. And by the time we kind of dispersed, we had all kinds of equipment. And it was fascinating because some of the equipment was just common, ordinary, everyday stuff that you would not expect it to be a part of the paranormal.
yeah,
And yet, uh,
yeah, that's sort of like us. Right when we first all started, we only started with basically my gifts, which I'm a spiritual medium. Trevor's gift, though, he didn't find out until later. Actually, he can actually hear spirits talking. All we started with was a K2 and a flashlight and a camera. That's all we started with. So again, those you don't really need to start with anything, but these are guidelines so that are going to help you that we're going to go through.
okey-doke.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first five, and then we'll take a break and then come back, finish the 5, and we'll talk about some of the people that have helped inspire us within the spiritual world to get more educated and everything else. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Eva, and Eva can start.
Well, one of the first things you should be aware of is that some spirits, in fact, a lot of spirits I have found are friendly. Either that or I was very lucky. You have to realize that most spirit are from our world, made the transition into the next world, and their personality followed them. And most people are pretty friendly, and you stand there and you talk, and they will talk back if you take the time to learn how to listen. Once you learn how to listen, you can hear what they have to say. And I have never had, I shouldn't say never, I didn't have that many bad experiences with spirit. Most of the time they were friendly.
Yeah. So what type of stuff have you come across though with friendly ghosts in your area?
Well, there was the one with the woman, and she, we walked into the house and you could just feel this, come in, sit down, and I'll make you some soup or something. And she just was very, very friendly. I don't know how old she was when she died, but she did pass away in the house that we were in. And she, in the process of, we told her, well, we're there because there's a spirit that's bothering the people that are already here, and we're helped to get rid of it. And she's, I'll help. So she was right there. She helped us. She got us through these things. She was a hoot. And when we got ready to leave, you could just hear her say, please come back. I'm always here. So,
well, that's cool. That's cool.
Oh, it was. And that, I mean, that was probably one of the most friendly ghosts or spirit that I've ever experienced. Others were not quite as friendly, but they weren't, what you see in the movies.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. So none of them were like Casper the Ghost.
No, not quite.
It's like so yeah. So the next one that we're gonna look at, though, some spirits actually basically have boundaries. So some symptoms that you can actually be able to get from the spirit. So is whenever you're going actually out to a location, always go in at first and say, hi, my name is such and such. Sort of like what Eva was just saying, though, so the spirits can get to know you. Spirits will actually let you know by, again, though, with the boundaries. So you can actually feel ectoplasm. Now, what the ectoplasm feels like, though, is like spider webs. Spider webs, though, actually are really off feeling and everything else. Or else what you can get, though, from the energy is actually the spirits telling you mentally or hear them, basically them saying no to you. Again, though, it's kind of like going through a cement wall is what it feels like. One great incident, though, that we've had for people, though, that actually have seen us here at HauntingLIVE podcast. We were actually on Paranormal Survivor Season 1, Episode 6. I was talking about myself going down the stairs, and the resident spirit, Andrew Jackson, was pushing me back. Right? It felt like I was being picked up and pushed back, actually, like a couple of feet back. But yeah, that's exactly what the feeling is. So, anything that you could say about that, Eva?
Yeah, I have experienced that, but it was just kind of a walking into a brick wall sort of a thing. I don't know if it's because they're afraid of me or what, but I never got pushed. I never got touched. I never experienced the the spider webs, but I did feel like I walked into a brick wall on more than one occasion.
Yeah. It's like so. All right. So what's number 3 then?
Number 3 is willing to stand your ground. You really have to be strong, if you want to use that word. If someone does connect with you in a physical matter sort of a thing, like a touch, or, you'll have to say, don't do that. Instead of getting all screaming and, yelling and running away type thing. Sometimes you have to keep doing it. And you usually can get the spirits to kind of work with you. And once they realize what your boundaries are, you can deal with it better, and they know how far they can walk. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. What I personally say to people, though, actually for number 3, which is basically be willing to stand your ground, though, is if the energy is actually acting up, and if you don't like it, treat it like a little child.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it. I never thought of that.
Be more forceful. Tell them to knock it off. This is what the grounds are.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's the more basically stand thing, or even have your chakras, which we all have inside of us, have them more or less shining through, so the way you're standing there with grounding actually down to earth. That way nothing can knock you down. So
exactly,
it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now number 4, though, what I would say, though, is again, it's like what I'm going to say a little bit more is have a contract for locations. All
yes.
right. All right.
That's a good one.
So again, though, is get a contract, a legal contract. It doesn't hurt you. Have the authorization, getting into the location. And again, though, this is number 4, so that way you're playing it safe. Even if police come by, you got the paper there with all the proper stuff. So,
yep.
What would you say about that?
I agree with you. We always had something in writing to say that's why we were there. But in our case, we always, made sure we had, we were in contact with the owner of the place. So again, if something came up, we wouldn't be arrested.
Yeah. And leave. And the best thing to do is leave the way, though, that it came.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So some spirits like to have fun, which is so true. Some of them, though, will actually play tricks on you. They will actually hide keys, which has actually happened right when we've actually moved into a new house. At the time, though, we didn't realize, though, that that there was energy there. Trevor, my life partner and all that, in the morning, though, he was going to work. He tried to find the car keys. This is a brand new house that we moved into. It's a really historic house. So he turned around to me. He's like, "Chris, do you know right where the keys are?" And so I helped him look around and everything else. Couldn't find them. I said, "That's it. Put them back right where you found them." And what happened? Those keys were actually showing up there. So so that's one incident. Actually, some spirits actually like to have fun. They like to hide things actually on you, or else be able to do little tricks on you. So yes. What would you say?
Well, there was the original owner of the farm, Jack Scott, never had any children. So having all these children around the farm, he would drop in, and he had a mischievous, in a good way, personality. He liked to play jokes, and same kind of thing. My cousin would be working in his workshop, and he'd put the tool on the bench, turn around, and be gone. And he'd have to say, "Jack, put it back." Turn back around, and there it was. And sometimes we'd have flashing lights. The lights would be turning off and on.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. "Jack, we're trying to sleep." And he would also he still plays with the cats. And it's like, okay, Jack's with the cats again.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be right back back after these messages, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
The paranormal can happen at any time, so that's why our Etsy store is always open. Get your paranormal items from cleansing to protection to attraction, all available now on our Etsy store. Search HauntingLIVE.
Why do you seem so scared? All I wanted to do was play with you. Please come and play with me. I am so lonely. Don't be afraid.
September 10th, why not come out to the Stratford Perth Museum for the Indigenous Arts and Craft Market for celebration with the Cedar Hill Drumming Corps and dancers. This is absolutely free on September 10th from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m.
You could have listened to the radio. You could have spun some vinyl. You could have played a cassette tape. But you listened to
It's Divine Oracle Readings on Unique Spotify. Another great podcast to listen to is Haunting Live Podcast with your host Trevor, interviewing tons of people throughout the world. Listen on any of your podcast providers.
Alrighty, so we're back again, and yeah, so what we're going to be doing though is we're going to be looking at the rest of the list. So number 6.
Compassionate communications when you get results. This was one thing that was pounded into me. You always, every time, say thank you. And be kind, be gentle, but always say thank you for your help. I mean, it's what you would do with a person that's standing right in front of you. So why wouldn't you do that with spirit?
Yeah.
And like I say, just be gracious about it.
Yeah.
And it goes back to something when I read that the first time, I thought about it, and it goes back to one of the things that the nuns taught us is when you pray to a saint to help you and the help arrives, you always say thank you. And then as we got older, we were told that even if you don't get what you want, at the end of your prayers, say thank you. And it's like, okay, so this applies to this too. The spirits have feelings just like we do. And when you say thank you, they appreciate it and they are more willing to work with you.
Yeah, and it's so true though. Because whatever you're bringing in, it's best off to actually always. It doesn't matter, even if it is a person that's living or deceased, always say thank you. And that's one thing that's missing in this world though, is people with proper manners.
Oh, don't get me started.
So it's like it is true. It is true. But yeah, the next one though that we're gonna be looking at though is careful about leaving the location. Yeah. What we normally do those whenever we do historical ghost walks or even investigations, what we do those like what Eva was saying, those we do say thank you. We will cleanse ourselves. And what we also say though to the energy though is you may not follow us. But again, those like what I was saying in the first beginning though is like sort of be like a parent. Put up that guard. Put up that discipline. But again though is be careful right when you're leaving the premise. And it's so true though. The best thing to do is smudge yourself. Or even smudge actually everybody else. And send that white light around you. One great way I do about the white light though is, and this is even why whenever actually out of an investigation, I always think about this mentally, is so I'm actually in a dark, complete room. There's a candle and it's in the room. There's a box of matches, I know that's there. I reach the box of matches, I light the match. Then I go for the candle, the white candle, and I actually light the white candle. Make sure I blow out the match. I put the match out. I take that white candle, put it actually in my hand. That white candle becomes so bright. I know I need it. So what I do though is I put that white candle inside me. Now my pores are actually shining that white candle, and whenever there is actually anything negative around me, what I'm always doing though is I'm actually always pretending though that white candle is shining out of me. And that there is actually pretty good though. The reason why is because what it does is it actually wards off any if there is anything negative or anything attachment though that's actually growing to you. That way you're actually basically warding it off.
Well, that goes along with the last one that we were talking about. When you start, you protect yourself, and when you end, you let that protection envelop whatever may be around you. If it is a bad spirit or one that's not supposed to be there on the dark side, or however you want to put it, it helps to keep them away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yep. So we're gonna go to number 8.
Which is a biggie. Spirits use different tools to communicate with us. And I don't know where to start on that one. I don't know where to end on that one.
Well, it is so true. It is so true. I'll just ask the question before we go into that one. Do you ever use the board, the Ouija board?
Yes, I have.
Okay, for investigations?
No, I haven't. Not on-site investigations, but yes, I have used it.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people out there who do not like to use use a Ouija board,
Yeah.
but I think it is something that does have its place. If you know how to use it, you don't run into much problems with it. But you've got to be careful. You've got to be very careful because you are very open when you're using the board.
Yeah. Yeah. So that there's one question. So I only let you go back to number 8.
Like I say, there's one of the things that I got when I got down to reading is using a pendulum, a dowsing rod, or anything that moves at all, which could be a Ouija board, I suppose.
Yeah.
I have seen, I wish I had them. They were little, dowsing rods are usually about 8, well, not 18 inches, but a goodly measure, and you hold them in your hands and they do their thing, right?
Yeah. It's supposed to cross.
The one woman, the psychologist in our group, had dowsing rods that were probably maybe 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches, and she had them set in these little wooden, like thread spools, but it wasn't a thread spool, but it looked like that, and she would hold on to it with just instead of these huge things, and boy, they were accurate, and they were copper. And she told us, and I read that down further, is that copper is one of the best types of metal to use for communication. I agree, but I also think you need to include silver. Silver is also a very good communication device. Excuse me. I'm not talking good today.
Well, we actually have those. We do have the dowsing rods here, but we don't use them because dowsing rods, if you notice though, that they also are for water.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's how they used to use them years ago, which was actually for water. Try to find water.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for us here, we have them, but we don't use them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got them from the Queen of Ooga Booga and Oliver. We got them from them actually 1 year for my birthday. So, but yeah. So like again, those like you were saying pendulums.
Yes.
Right.
Hang on, I will show you the pendulum that I used a lot of the time.
Yeah, if you want to let our viewers know, since they're listening to us right now, what it looks like. Then that would be wonderful.
It's on a silver chain, and you can barely see it, but it is a shell, and it's a Reminds me of a conch shell. But this shell also has a hole in it rather than being with one side gone. And it is probably, to me, one of the most responsive pieces of equipment that I've ever used. It just does its thing. And in fact, I don't know, can you see on from where you are?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it perfectly. Yeah, so right now,
You'll
Eva.
notice it's already starting.
Yeah, so Eva actually is holding the one end. Her hand is completely still. The pendulum itself is swinging. Now, do you
Go back and forth.
know which way yes is and what way no is with that?
I always ask first, show me yes. Oh, it's doing it right now. Thank you. It is showing me yes, which is back and forth.
Which
And
way?
sometimes
Which way back and forth?
towards me and away from me.
Okay.
It's like a nod if you think of it that way. And if I say show me no, sometimes it stops completely. I'm trying to get it so you can see it. Get back a little bit. Please show me no. And it is going back and forth like it is shaking its head. You can see that?
Yeah.
Okay. There's also several other indications that it uses with me. I've had this one a very long time. The shell was given to me, and there's a story behind that one too, but we'll do it another time. And I have used it on many occasions. Thank you very much. And I have used it on many occasions when we were doing investigations, and it's very, very sensitive. And that's another thing that you can use to communicate with. You can ask yes and no stuff without problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, another way, like you just brought up though, is sensibility. Sensibility is also another one. There are tons and tons of different tools out there that are actually out there to help you communicate with the spiritual world. One of those actually camera actually on the phone. Cameras actually go a hot lot faster speed than our own eyesight. You can actually be able to get photos of them. Even just sitting down meditating is also a good way. Just basically connect with the energy altogether.
the priest that was with us had a silver cup,
Yeah.
and in this silver cup he would put holy water, a
Yes.
goodly amount of
Yeah.
water, and he would just sit there holding the cup, and it would start vibrating, and there was no reason why it should be, and that was his way of communicating with the spirits.
Yeah.
So, there's just, I mean, we could write a whole book on ways that they communicate or how they communicate, and there'd be several whole chapters just on electronic devices, because man, they have found that to be a convenient way.
Yes, yes, and it's so true. And with the water incident, though, that you were just explaining about, Sig workshop, and what happened though is there's three of us actually with a dark bowl, and we had to put our fingers in there, twirl the water, and basically be able to pick up anybody else's energy. Actually, so that's also another thing that we did. So we're going to do this. So I'm going to get you to read number 9, if you don't mind.
Okay. You can ask for protection from let's try that again. Asking for protection from benevolent spirits. And my spirit guides were constantly around me. I could feel them presence. There were 3 of them. One was a British soldier. One was I believe it was a Native American. I know it was a medicine man. And the third was well, I wouldn't say a priestess, but she was the equivalent of a medicine woman. And the 3 of them would always be with me when I did this. So that's one thing you can do. You can ask for your spirit guides to have either them or to send someone to help you. Angels, if you want to call them that, is another way. But there are angels like Michael, Raphael. There's 7 of them that you can call on, and I can't remember all the names,
Yeah.
but they all end in El. And you can. We always okay. I'll get to that in a few minutes. How we always started our sessions when we were doing an investigation, and you do need something. You do need protection.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would do is I would go into a meditation as part of this whole thing, and I would put on an armor of light, white light, that would protect me from anything. The priest, of course, had his cross. The psychologist, it was also a cross, but it was the Celtic cross.
Yeah.
The biological engineer, I don't know what he had, or yeah, no, the biologist, I don't know what he had. The engineer, he had an old. It used to be on electric poles, that glass stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
It was his totem. It was a little small thing. It's like I would like to have one of those just to have it in collection. Just trying to remember what the rest of us had, and I'm drawing a complete blank. But you do what you have to do to keep that protection around you, because you don't know what you're getting into, and that also helps you to not bring home something you don't want.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So number 10 is basically have a buddy system. And this is a really a must. Whenever you're going to go exploring any location, do not, and I mean do not, go into a location by yourself. You might see TV shows, yeah, people going by themselves, but technically, if you notice, so camera crews with them. So they're not by themselves. The reason why is basically because in case if there's anything that happens, if you fall down the any shafts or anything like that, you've got somebody there to help you. All right, even if there's even if you faint or even have a heart attack, right? You've got somebody there to be with you.
Yes.
So again, those have a buddy with you, and that's the most important thing. Those always have a buddy with you. It's like
one of the things I would add is when I was part of the Y files, one of the things we did is we had I don't want to say a ritual, but yeah, I guess it would be a ritual that we did at the start of any investigation. And what we did is we were in a circle. We grasped hands, right hand on top, left hand on bottom, around the circle. We started with the Lord's Prayer, because one of the things we were always taught is the Lord's Prayer, or one of the things that we were taught, I should say, is that the Lord's Prayer is probably one of the most protective and most powerful protector in the way of a prayer. And we would say it out loud together. We would then take a few minutes to meditate and get ourselves in a protective mode. That's where I would put on the armor of light. Everybody had their own little thing that they did, and nobody tried to say you were right or you were wrong, because it's what you had to do. In my case, I would put on this armor of light that was the light and I would talk with my guides and tell them to stand there to guard me. And everybody else had their own little thing that they did. And then we would go into the house or go into wherever we were going. And once we were done, again, we stood in a circle. We did the hand thing, and we ended it with our own silent prayer of thank you. And that's how we ended the session. And it kind of like created the bond and then dissolved the bomb.
Yeah.
Dissolved the bond. And I think that's one thing that should be kind of emphasized, that you need to have something where you can set these things up before you go in, and it should be kind of a thing that you do the same every time.
Yeah. And if you're gonna do a ghost hunt with anybody, if it is your first time, they'll follow the rules.
Yes.
there are major rules to follow. If somebody says to you, okay, put your phone actually on airplane mode, put it on airplane mode. All right, because energy loves to actually drain power quite fast. So, so what we're going to do though now, we're going to actually look at some of the people though that have actually influenced in the positive way, that have actually made us do some of the work, though that's actually out there today. And then we're gonna call it a night, and we'll catch you guys actually on the next podcast. So for myself though, there's people, but who for you, Eva, or some of the people though that inspired you actually, basically, for the spiritual paranormal.
One would have two couples that I know, Art and Irene Rosinski, and Saul and Elaine Lewis, both of whom had passed. And it was Elaine who really said, "Have you ever done anything like this?" And from there, I was introduced to, his actual is Dr. Charles Litzau and his wife Lucille, Chuck and Lou, and they were the ones who really got me involved in doing a lot of this kind of stuff. And they were part of the Y-Files.
Okay.
And of course, Scully and Mulder.
The characters.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah. It's like God.
I couldn't read that one.
No. For those that know Eva, yes. If you've been listening for a while, awesome. You'll sort of get to know exactly why she said that. So, but for myself though, what I would say though is, for myself, Ed and Lorraine Warren. They were demonologists. People actually thought though that they were making up stuff, but they actually had the proof there. And yeah, so they inspired me actually to do the stuff. Same with also with my family. We do actually have a lot of spiritual stuff actually, like people actually in our family. My aunt though, that I used to call my Nana, found out right when she passed away, she was actually a spiritual medium. And also with us in the Indigenous community, yeah, there's a lot actually though that's going on, Sean. But again though, Ed and Lorraine Warren for myself, and then going back actually, before getting to get to know about Ed and Lorraine Warren, I would say watching television shows. Right, I used to say, okay, right, cool. I used to ask the questions, and some people gave proper questions back, and some people didn't. So, so again, those. Let us know. There will be a questionnaire actually underneath our Spotify area. Let us know exactly of who inspired you. We're gonna actually have a list underneath of some people. So again, though, is let us know. All right. So from us today, you guys have a wonderful night, and catch you guys underneath the next podcast all together.
Have a great week, everyone.
You could have listened to the radio. You could have spun some vinyl. You could have played a cassette tape. But you listened to
Is Divine Oracle Readings on underneath Spotify. Another great podcast to listen to is Haunting Live Podcast with your host Trevor, interviewing tons of people throughout the world. Listen underneath any of your podcast providers.